Imagine discovering the ultimate peak of profound spiritual enlightenment. It's absolutely indistinguishable from the darkest pit of hopeless despair. If stripping away every illusion reveals truth, does achieving ultimate meaning require embracing absolute meaninglessness entirely? You seek purpose, yet absolute emptiness holds the key. Welcome to the intellectual labyrinth, meticulously crafted by myth, dissecting the highly complex architecture supporting human belief systems. We rigorously examine the structural integrity of sacred dogmas entirely through the sterile lens of pure philosophical inquiry. Our focal subject remains the delicate boundary separating the relentless pursuit of absolute nirvana from the crushing gravity of pure nihilism. Both distinct philosophical frameworks relentlessly demand the total, absolute dismantling of inherent meaning within the physical structure of the universe. Both entirely unique perspectives violently force the fragile human mind to confront the terrifying expanse of an indifferent cosmos. Both demanding paths strictly require the absolute annihilation of the fragile ego, forcing the complete dissolution of the personal self. Yet, despite sharing identical diagnostic foundations regarding objective reality, their prescribed destinations appear diametrically opposed in their fundamental existential flavor. One singular path promises profound spiritual liberation, offering a total release from the agonizing structure of inescapable psychological suffering. The alternate path guarantees overwhelming emotional despair, triggering a terrifying plunge into the suffocating abyss of absolute cosmic futility. How exactly can two identical philosophical diagnoses inexplicably result in two vastly distinct, conflicting existential prognoses regarding human consciousness? To fully understand this magnificent paradox, we must rigorously examine the core foundational tenet of Buddhist doctrine, namely the profound concept of Sunyata translates roughly to complete emptiness, but certainly not emptiness in the simplistic sense of vacuum. This profound emptiness represents the fundamental lack of intrinsic, solid existence occurring within all observable cosmic and psychological phenomena. Absolutely nothing exists in pure isolation. Literally everything remains interwoven through a remarkably complex web of absolute dependent origination. Your cherished identity, burning desires, and darkest fears remain entirely conditional, artificially constructed from unstable, fluctuating external environmental elements. By desperately clinging to these conditional psychological constructs, the unawakened human mind actively generates its own profound web of suffering. The proposed philosophical solution involves recognizing this fundamental emptiness, choosing to intentionally detach from the compelling illusion of core self. Let us deliberately shift our intense, analytical gaze toward this stark, unforgiving landscape belonging to the doctrine of pure nihilism. Pure nihilism boldly asserts that conscious life remains entirely without any objective meaning, overarching purpose, or inherent universal moral value. The observable universe constitutes a remarkably cold, strictly mechanical expanse, completely devoid of any grand design or moral architecture. All human values stand out merely as fabricated psychological constructs, representing pathetic attempts to impose artificial order upon inherent chaos. Confronting this unvarnished truth reliably triggers a destabilizing existential crisis, mimicking the terrifying sensation of hopelessly drowning in a void. The foundational similarities existing between these two monumental worldviews remain undeniably striking, sharing a remarkably similar geometry of metaphysical thought. The disciplined Buddhist confidently asserts that the individual self remains an illusion, serving merely as a conditional aggregate of conditions. The staunch nihilist passionately agrees with this accurate assessment, brutally reducing human consciousness to biological mechanics and random atomic collisions. The observant Buddhist clearly recognizes that all worldly attachments unavoidably lead to profound existential dissatisfaction and immense inescapable sorrow. The cynical nihilist similarly recognizes the absolute futility governing all conscious human endeavors within a universe bound for thermodynamic equilibrium. However, the devoted Buddhist actively seeks profound mental liberation by willingly embracing the fundamental emptiness, characterizing absolutely all observable things. The defeated nihilist simply stares blindly into that exact same terrifying emptiness and intimately feels the crushing weight of insignificance. The crucial divergence, therefore, lies not within the objective observation of base reality, but rather within the prescribed psychological reaction. For the committed nihilist, the total absence of inherent cosmic meaning registers as a tragic loss, a cruel cosmic joke. The stark realization of profound emptiness directly leads to a Paralysian apathy, prompting a total rejection of all constructive action. If absolutely nothing genuinely matters, then horrific cruelty and boundless kindness paradoxically hold the exact same negligible, universal, cosmic weight. The dark abyss seemingly looks back into the observer, reflecting only a hollow reflection, emphasizing utter human vanity and pointlessness. The framework of Buddhism masterfully frames this exact same lack of inherent universal meaning as the supreme source of freedom. If the individual's self genuinely lacks any fixed substance, there exists no vulnerable entity capable of being injured or structurally destroyed. The recognized emptiness transforms from a suffocating dark void into a wonderfully boundless space containing infinite creative and spiritual potentiality. Because absolutely nothing possesses a rigid, unalterable nature, profound psychological and spiritual transformation becomes entirely possible for any dedicated conscious mind. The enlightened Buddhist response to a meaningless, mechanical universe involves the deliberate cultivation of radical, unconditional, and boundless universal compassion, truly recognizing the widely shared illusion of fundamental separation. The wise practitioner actively seeks to alleviate the suffering plaguing sentient entities. This profound compassion absolutely requires no external cosmic mandate. It remarkably arises entirely organically from the deep understanding of universal interconnectedness. The desperate nihilist constantly demands external, validating meaning from the silent universe, and subsequently falls into deep despair upon discovering nothing. The enlightened Buddhist fully accepts the total lack of external validating meaning and focuses entirely upon the internal cessation of mental suffering. Consider the illustrative philosophical analogy involving an entirely empty, barren physical room presented equally to two vastly different conscious philosophical observers. The deeply pessimistic nihilist reluctantly enters the enclosed room, sees absolutely no comforting furniture, perceives no decoration, and feels severe poverty. The disciplined Buddhist intentionally enters the exact same enclosed room, surveys the barren walls, and joyfully experiences a glorious sense of spaciousness. The enclosed physical room itself has demonstrably remained unaltered. The physical architecture and spatial dimensions remain perfectly identical across both scenarios. The vast psychological distinction clearly remains purely internal, entirely dependent upon the specific interpretative cognitive framework heavily utilized by the individual observer. This specific realization inevitably brings us face to face with the absolute core philosophical challenge defining this specific, intricate, intellectual inquiry. Is the philosophy of Buddhism merely a more socially palatable, psychologically comforting adaptation of absolute, unyielding, and brutal philosophical nihilism? Does the highly praised doctrine of universal compassion simply serve as an artificial coping mechanism designed strictly to mask paralyzing terror? Alternatively, is the stark philosophy of pure nihilism merely an incomplete, spiritually stunted, and tragically halted realization of liberating Buddhist philosophy? Perhaps the deeply cynical nihilist has quite accurately identified the fundamental cosmic emptiness, but tragically failed to transcend the hungry ego. Achieving true existential liberation strictly requires bravely walking the extremely dangerous, remarkably sharp, and unforgiving razor edge separating these two profound concepts. Lean dangerously far toward the comforting illusion of worldly attachment, and you inevitably fall deeply into the inescapable trap of emotional suffering. Lean dangerously far toward the cold embrace of total detachment, and you swiftly plunge into the unbreakable grip of deep nihilistic despair. The celebrated middle path essentially demands bravely acknowledging the ultimate cosmic emptiness while simultaneously fully participating within the beautiful reality of physical phenomena. It represents the profound capacity to deeply love a fragile blooming flower while peacefully accepting its completely unavoidable, tragic biological decay. The truly enlightened human mind possesses the remarkable ability to hold this glaring philosophical paradox flawlessly within its expansive conscious mental grasp. It completely understands that absolutely nothing truly matters objectively within the impossibly vast, unimaginably grand cosmic mathematical equation governing base physical reality. Yet, it simultaneously recognizes that every individual action and interpersonal interaction reliably generates meaningful ripples cascading across the interconnected web of existence. The perceived boundary separating these two monumental philosophies definitely does not represent a solid wall, but rather a remarkably subtle shift in orientation. It embodies the exact precise difference heavily distinguishing between falling endlessly into a dark abyss and strikingly, realizing you possess the ability to fly. The terrifying, vast cosmic void undeniably remains precisely the exact same objective physical reality, regardless of which distinct philosophical viewpoint you choose to adopt. Your intimately personal relationship deeply connecting you to the absolute void heavily dictates the absolute entirety of your perceived subjective, existential, conscious human experience. Willingly embrace the fundamental universal emptiness, not as a devastating loss, but rather as the necessary clearing of mental space, allowing for unmatched clarity. As you deeply contemplate the intricate architecture supporting your own personal dogmatic beliefs, ask yourself a truly crucial, fundamental, deeply profound philosophical question. Are you unreasonably demanding the silent universe actively provide you with a comforting, inherent purpose it fundamentally cannot possibly possess within its physical structure, or are you entirely ready to bravely forge your own profound subjective peace deeply within the absolutely boundless expanse of total cosmic silence? The genuine, ultimate answers definitely are not written among the distant glowing stars, nor are they decreed by any imagined supreme divine cosmic authority. The profound, liberating answers exclusively reside deeply hidden within the remarkably precise internal calibration governing the intricate workings of your own unique individual consciousness. This intense, rigorous deconstruction of cherished human belief systems remains the absolute core foundational intellectual inquiry, fiercely driven by the philosophical channel. Myth